My name is Dwight Gillespie. This is the Change Your Life channel. I want to thank you for tuning in today. If you haven't done so already, please, you know the drill. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. By all means, comment and share it with your friends, whether you like it or not. We answer all comments, so go ahead and fire away. Today we're gonna do something. We're gonna talk about habits, right? Because we all have habits. And a lot of us have good habits and bad habits. I have more bad habits than good habits. And we're going to talk about habits, right? We did one about making the abnormal normal, which is a good podcast. You can find it in our list of podcasts. And this kind of piggybacks on that because talking about habits, right? And this is again, all of this stuff is just my observations and for whatever that's worth. When it comes to habits, I noticed, at least for myself, that bad habits are much easier to come by than good habits, right? It's a lot harder to kick a bad habit than to kick a good habit, right? I could get out of a good habit real fast, right? All right, you get into a habit, you go to the gym. You go to the gym every day, 5 days a week, and I'm doing this, and then you take a day off, and you sit home and do nothing, and then you take another day. Oh, that felt pretty good. And the habit isn't even staying home. The habit is what you're going to do when you stay home. You know what I'm going to do? I think I'm going to get a little McDonald's breakfast and then then the habit starts to grow. You know, it's the good habit that you gave up. You were going to the gym. You were doing the right thing, right? And I'm not a gym rat, so don't get me wrong on that. I'm trying to become a gym rat. That's what, we're getting into all that, and we'll get into that later. But forming good habits, right, is essential. But first, you got to get rid of some of the bad ones. And one of the things I noticed, is people say, well, why is it so much easier to pick up a bad habit? And I asked myself this, and I'm like, it seems so easy. Once I started smoking, I didn't want to stop. Once I started doing dope, I didn't want to stop. Once I started having illicit sex, I didn't want to stop. And what I started to notice is like all of these things that gave me instant gratification, all of these things that instantly made me feel good, right? We were just talking, Walter and I were talking about happiness. We're going to mic him up soon, too. We're going to get him a mic so he could talk because he just sits there and laughs. Sometimes I think he's just mocking me. But anyway, why is it so easy, right? And what is this? Like instant gratification, wanting to be happy all the time. When we're talking about happiness, and this is very important in habit forming, I think, because for me, and I can only talk about from my experience. From my experience, I want to be happy all the time. I want to feel good all of the time, right? A lot of people do. I'm not the only one. This is why heroin is such a problem out there. This is why crack is such a problem. This is why meth is such a problem. This is why, depression is off the charts now. People, anxiety disorders, right? I suffer from acute anxiety disorder. I have for most of my life. And I have to combat this thing with the things that I do. And a lot of it has to do with wanting to feel good all the time. And the thing is how realistic is that? See, it dawned on me that happiness is a feeling just like sadness, right? I've suffered from acute depression, and anybody who's been following this, I've been hospitalized on 3 occasions in my life, on lock wards, no shoelaces, no sharp objects, eaten with a spoon and all that good shit. Somebody 2 feet away from you for 48 hours or whatever it takes. And I've done those things because, especially as a young man, it took me to get older to realize that feelings pass. When I was a younger man, I used to think that any feeling that I had was the feeling I was going to have forever. It's always going to be this way. Life is always going to be a challenge. When it was good, it was really good. When it was bad, it was just horrible. There was a David Bowie line in a song, and it says, "When it's good, it's really good, and when it's bad, I fall to pieces." And I forget what song it was from, but I always related to that, and. So these habits, right? So we try to form these habits, and I don't form habits to garner happiness. Habits for me are a long-term investment now. It's not a short-term thing because most good habits that I have are things that are going to pay off in the long term. They're not necessarily going to pay off in the immediacy of the moment, right? So what are some habits that I've had to form, or I had to break some really bad habits, right, in order to be better. Doing drugs, right? I sought help and still do through a 12-step program. Quit smoking, quit eating horrible food, and I've had to replace these with other things, especially with the food. Like I had to form a habit of cooking for myself on a daily basis. And I cook every day, or just about every day. I go out very rarely now, because when I go out, I know I have a habit of wanting to order what is going to make me feel good in that moment. And it's not usually something good for me, So I make sure that when I go out, I know I'm going to go to a place, number one, that is going to be conducive to my eating habits now. Because I don't have a diet. I have eating habits. I have formed a habit of eating good food. And I have also formed a habit of not eating out of that area, that's of comfort to me, I don't eat certain foods. And I have to make sure that wherever I go, they're going to be able to serve the things that I eat. Because, I remember a friend wanting, there's a place, it's a great hamburger place. I live in Queens, New York, the best borough in the city of New York, to be honest with you. We have the best food and the best people you'll ever meet. 138 different languages spoken on a daily basis. It is considered the most diverse place on earth. And I live here. All right, so that makes it even better. Hey, anyway, Walter's from Brooklyn, whatever. Anyway, so he wanted me, my friend of mine, he wanted me to go out to this great burger place, like the famous, world famous for burgers, right? He's like, "Oh, come on, you can come out," and I'm like, "No, I can't." Like I don't, and I was struggling at the time, at 280 pounds, and I'm trying, and I didn't want to do it. I hadn't formed a habit of treating myself well. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute too. But he's like, "Oh, you can order a salad." And I said, "Order a salad?" Now, who the hell would go there and order a salad? So let me get this straight. You want me to order like a $30 salad because everything on the menu is expensive, right? So I'm still going to spend $30 to eat the food that my food eats. I'm not going to do this. This is just stupid. So I'm going to sit here eating a salad, watching all you people eat these burgers. Why do I want to torture myself like that? I know if I go, I'm not ordering a salad, right? Because I didn't have that habit of eating well. And I still don't go to the place, right? Because I know I'm not going to go there and watch people eat what I want to be eating. It doesn't mean that I don't want to eat these things. It means that I formed a habit of not doing it because I have a long-term payoff. We were talking about that, right? Investment. Like a good habit is an investment in the future. A bad habit is an investment in instant gratification. I want it now, right? And no matter what that is, having sex with the wrong people, marrying the wrong people, anything that makes you feel good, drugs make you feel good, alcohol's a drug. All of these things that make me feel good right in the moment are typically not good for me. So I have to form a habit of not getting into those instant gratification moments. And it is a habit. They say, well, how is it? Like in recovery, right? In recovery, we talk about 90 meetings in 90 days. Every 12-step program talks about it. It's standard, right? They say, well, why? Well, because it makes it a habit. You get into a habit of coming to these meetings. You get into a habit of talking about these things that are good for you and conducive to leading a better life. Now, in the short term, you say, well, I really liked heroin. It made all my problems melt away. And it did. Look, I lost my kids in an accident. My father committed suicide. My mother drank herself, all that good shit. And heroin, I used to equate it to like the old CRT tubes on a TV. A lot of you don't know what I'm talking about. Walter's like, what does that mean? And when you used to turn the TV off, the screen would go to this little dot. And that is the best way that I can describe what heroin did for me. It took my life and it to that little dot and it was gone, and it would obliterate it for a little while. And then I'd come out of my nod and it was all still there. So, like Neil Young said, every junkie's like a setting sun, right? Once you go down, you got to come back up, baby. And that's the whole game there because I have to maintain this. And that in itself becomes a habit. So you have a habit of dealing with life. And it becomes a habit to talk about things that are good. And getting off of that was an investment in not living through these horrible situations, because what happened with the drugs, at least for me, was the drugs themselves brought more horror on. Like, it didn't lessen the impact of the horror that I've already lived. It caused more pain in the future. So Walter was talking about treating my future self better. It sounds so corny. I know. I'm going to be very good to my future self, Anyway, I try, but it's true though. And it really is an investment for your future self. And I had one friend, he was always like, I said, well, don't you want to live a better life in the future? He said, well, what if I die now? Like, I could get high right now. And then if I die, I get hit by a bus. At least I had this. Oh, that's one way of looking at it. Yeah, that's real. Only I would think that. Yeah, and I'm an. So there you go. Hey, it fits. Anyway, so we work hard to make these habits, these better habits, and we treating yourself better and not treating yourself with instant gratification, because so many things like shopaholic, gamblers, sexaholics, like drug addicts. Like all of these things are things that give us that instant pleasure, right? And so I try to form these other habits to go ahead and change that mindset, to understand that delayed gratification is usually better for me, and in the long run, much better. Like I'm much happier now than I ever was using drugs. I can tell you that right now. That all the pain that I went through to get off the drugs was definitely worth it. And I've heard addicts, and I work with a lot of addicts now. So I don't want to go through the kick. You don't want to go through the kick. Like I had a $400 a day habit. I didn't make close to that much money, and I couldn't steal that much. I went through the kick all the time. You want to talk about a bad habit is coming off of dope. It sucked, and going through, I used to call it the badness. The badness is coming. It would start with the little beads of sweat, and then the shivers, and then I wanted this all the time. And it was just terrible. And going through that and the short-term effects and the short-term pain. And the exercise is the same way. You go to the gym, you work out, and it's hard, but then when you're done, you feel better. You read a book. Shut the television off. Read a book. And maybe it's arduous to get through. Some people I fall asleep 3 pages in. Don't worry about it. Keep reading, because you'll form a habit like anything else. You'll form a habit, and next time you'll read 4 pages, and eventually you're reading 10 pages before you sleep, and eventually you're reading a chapter, right? And you're reading books now, and you're learning things. You're learning new things instead of having that idiot box talk to you. And again, if you follow my podcast, I don't have a TV. I don't watch TV because it's horrible. It's horrible. And I formed the habit of doing other things instead of watching TV. I don't do it, These are just some of the things that come to mind in learning to treat yourself better and learning to form good habits. And they take time. Be patient with yourself too. And if you slip off the beam a little bit, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. You say, I had this eating plan and I was on it and I messed up. Well, go back to it. Go back to it. See, because once you start to form those habits, they're easier to go back to too. And the idea that, and it is absolutely true, and remember this, because it's so much easier to form a bad habit than a good one. And it's so much easier to kick a good habit than a bad one. And when you keep those in mind, it takes perseverance. And again, and I say this so many times, I believe you can do this. I've watched people from all walks of life, race, creed, color, gender, preferences, all that crap. None of it matters. None of it matters when it comes to treating yourself better. None of that stuff. Because I've seen everybody from all walks of life be able. I live in New York City, like I said. I go to 12-step meetings all over New York City. I meet all kinds of people from all walks of life, all persuasions. And you can do this. And we can help. Right here at Change Your Life. We're here to help you. Tune in. Keep tuning in. My name is Dwight Gillespie. This is the Change Your Life channel. I say have a great week. We download or upload, whatever it is, every Sunday. One of those, right? Which it's up. We go down to go up. It's very confusing for me. I can't get it. Anyway, I'm getting there. And that's it. If you haven't done so already, again, like it, subscribe, hit the notifications, comment, share it with your friends by all means. My name is Dwight Gillespie. Keep coming back. Here we are. We're here to help. Be well. Have a great week. Bye.